If Boston College can clean up all this sloppy football, the road to 7 wins or beyond is right there for them.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I am your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. If you want analysis, news, and hard-hitting details on your Boston College Eagles, you are in the right place. Locked On BC is a daily Boston College podcast available free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. On today's show, we're going to look at injuries. Who does BC need back? We're going to look at where BC is in their matchup against Cal as BC gets back on the gridiron on Saturday. And the landscape has changed in the ACC, and it looks good for BC. I'll explain what that all means. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets if you do use across the app. Download the app today. All right, everydayers, good to see you all here again today on our show. BC did not play this last weekend. For guys like me, it was great. I went out, did some fall stuff, watched some the end of the Woo Sox season, but I also got to watch a lot of other football. And I got to tell you, the ACC is not very good this year. You've got your Miami, and hey, Florida State might not be all that bad. Or we don't know what's going on with Tommy Castellanos. And Syracuse, hey, they look okay. But this weekend showed to me that if BC can get their act together, if they can figure out to stop the catastrophic turnovers, to figure out, some of that offensive line issues and missed tackles, this season is not over yet. It really isn't over yet. They just need to get their stuff together. So first game that I watched, Syracuse versus Clemson. And I got a whole bunch of things to say about this game. First of all, Clemson is dead. I don't know what's going on with that program, but Dabo Swinney's idea that we don't need to live in the transfer portal is coming back to bite him in the butt big time. I got to say right now that I was wrong. I am wrong on some things. It happens. I thought Clemson was going to cruise in the ACC. They had Cade Klubnik, you got Antonio Williams and Bryant Wesco, and a really good defense. They look bad. And I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know, they've got 4 or 5-star guys on there, but they look really bad. Syracuse pounded them. For their third loss, they have losses to Georgia Tech, Clemson, and LSU now. Clemson looks like, I looked at FPI on ESPN. ESPN, they have that system where, they predict out how many wins you're going to get and all that good stuff. I think the BC spread for that, or BC win percentage, started at like 13%. It's up to 42% that BC could win that game. Clemson's not good. Again, you have to be for BC though. If you're going to have all these major problems, it doesn't matter how bad some of these teams are. If you're playing bad, you're going to be bad. So again, if BC can put their stuff together, Clemson's looking more and more like a potential that you could win that game. Then you say that, you watch that, and you're watching this game going, wow, Syracuse is a barn burner. You're playing them in the road. Steve Angeli looks great. All this. And then Steve Angeli shreds his knee. And with Tommy, with Angeli, I don't root injuries on anyone. It's not a good thing. But his season's done. They already had Pete Thamel come out and basically said his season is gone. He's going to have 2 more years with Syracuse after this year. But it's now Weeks, the quarterback from LSU, that's going to be taking over for Syracuse. And I think that's a pretty big downgrade for Syracuse. That's a big loss for them. Angeli, look, I was a little critical with him about, like a little bit more, I don't want to say critical, skeptical. But he shut me up. He did. He shut me up. He threw some great passes. He looked great. Fran Brown has also shut me up. I'm done on bashing Fran Brown. Like, whatever's going on there, he seems to figure it out. I also say Syracuse fans, enjoy him now because he's going to be gone in a year or two. I'm just going to say that right now. Some SAC school is going to scoop him up. But, hey, now that Angeli is gone, Syracuse, who was red hot, all of a sudden cools down. That's a big issue. So those 2 games themselves, SMU loses to TCU by giving up an ungodly amount of yards. They could not stop anything out there. Kevin Jennings got hurt. I don't know what the deal with him is. He could have come back. I missed that part of it. But the SMU defense is bad. They're bad. And so that when I watch that for BC's perspective, again, looks positive. Looks like a game you could potentially win. Again, if you get your stuff together. And that's going to be the big piece. So the ACC itself, I think BC, if they can figure out all those issues, they've had 2 weeks off now. And, I think they know what the problem is. I don't know if they have the answers on their roster. The coaching staff needs to figure this out because what once was a killer schedule, all of a sudden you're looking at this and going, you can figure out a way to get through the season because Notre Dame, they're 1-3 now. I don't put them in that same column because they lost to a good Texas A&M team. They lost to a good Georgia. They've lost to a couple good teams. So I'm not as critical of them, but Clemson, Syracuse, SMU, we'll talk about Cal in a minute. They're all looking like if you can figure this out, you can get your team back on the right trail. Now, again, if BC can't tackle, don't matter who you're playing. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. If BC continues to turn over with those, as Bill says, catastrophic mistakes, you're going to lose. Stanford went out on Saturday and looked like the Stanford team that we thought we were going to get. They let up 500-plus yards to Virginia and 40-plus points. But I have to say this. For the folks that are like, look, Stanford, they are bad. BC was, they didn't win. They didn't win. But those catastrophic issues kept them from getting there. If they did not fumble away those two unbelievably bad plays with the Dwayne Alec bad snap and the Turbo Richard fumble at the one, that's 34 points there. And especially if you had that momentum going, you would have been right there too. It was the catastrophic issues that prevented them. And I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just saying if they fix that, you're right there with those other teams. If you don't, you're one of the worst teams in the ACC. So I think the coaching staff knows that. They're going to be drilling this into the players' heads. Hopefully that's something that they can fix. And then my last thought, Florida State, they went out and played Kent State. And I knew that was going to be a big game for, all the Florida State people. They're now, 6th or 7th in the country. Tommy got hurt in that game. That's going to be interesting because the ACC is wide open now. You have Miami and then a whole bunch of teams that could win it. I said Louisville before the start of the season. They look like a favorite for this. You have Florida State. We'll see what happens there. But what about, where does BC stand in this? I don't think they're the bottom. I really don't. I still think this is a team that has too much in terms of talent at specific key spots, whether it's wide receiver, quarterback, in the positions that you can fix. It looks like there's some answers there, whether it's on the offensive line, plugging in Michael Crown's at center to fix some of the issues that Dwayne Alec was having. Hopefully Jude Bowry will be back. We'll talk about injuries in a little bit. But on the defensive side, if Edwin Kalengi is your answer and he can start getting things going, that's a huge boost for you. If you can get something out of Ela Boykin or, Quan Williams continues to play well inside, it's all there. You just gotta tighten things up. In our second segment, let's go on to the week 4 opponent, Cal. They looked unbeatable in those first couple of weeks, but man, they looked bad last weekend. I'll explain what we saw in just a moment. Quick question for all of you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, I said hat. For me, it would be the game. These bad boys aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. When you use code Locked On, you will get these vintage hats, just like my great BC one I have on right now, for $16.99. That's $16.99. You're not going to find a better deal like that anywhere. All you got to do is head to thegamecaps.com. That's thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's exclusive classic, bar, or retro circle design and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount, because legends wear the game. The Charitable Irish Society has been part of Boston's history since 1737, making it the oldest Irish society in the Americas. With deep ties to Boston College, its leaders and members continue a proud tradition of service. Today, the society is still living its mission, raising thousands of dollars each year to help immigrants in need, Irish and non-Irish alike. Last year, their support helped a family from Northern Ireland who faced a medical crisis and couldn't cover rent and bills. You can be part of that impact. Membership is just $75 a year, and it goes directly to helping families when they need it most. And mark your calendar. The annual Silver Key Dinner is coming up October 29th at the UMass Club, honoring Archbishop Henning. Get your tickets for the annual Silver Key Dinner and join the Charitable Irish Society today at www.charitableirishsociety.org. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black of Eagle Insider here. And thank you to all my people who made Locked On Boston College your first listen every day. And for those who are everydayers, that you make Locked On Boston College your everyday, whether you're doing it first thing in the morning, on your commute, on, doing dishes. Thank you so much for making us part of your daily routine. We really do appreciate you. Now, we are on to week 4. Cal is coming to town. Now, if you were to ask me about a week ago, AJ, does Cal look like a team that BC could beat? I would be worried because, they got their quarterback, former 4-star Jaron Keave Sagapulutule, or JPS, which I'm going to call him that because I'm not going to continue to really try that name. So JPS is, he was the 2-time freshman of the week for 8247. Like, this guy will look like a really big problem. They go out there, they win 2, Power 5, I would call it, games. They beat Oregon State and they beat Minnesota before they win another out of conference, FCS game. And you're thinking, okay, Cal, Justin Wilcox is on the hot seat. They seem to have their stuff together. I go to bed on Saturday night. I watched a little wrestling. I watched that WrestlePalooza with my kids. It was fun. I wasn't going to watch college football that night. I wake up and I look at the score. I was like, oh, yeah, Cal's playing San Diego State. They probably, won big time there. Cal lost 34-0. That one stunned me because, you going into this game, you're thinking, okay, maybe San Diego State, who was 1-1 going into this game, is going to be able to, hold their own or, battle a little bit, but they've got too much. And really, it was JKS's issues. He threw 2 interceptions. He threw under 50% for the game. That's a big deal. Like, they look much more pedestrian than I was expecting. And so that piece, like the fact that Cal is not back, and Cal last year when they hit something like this, I think the wheels came off pretty quickly for them. Makes me wonder about Saturday's game against Boston College in Chestnut Hill. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can tell you just from, a temperature check, teams that go across the country, whether it's West Coast to East Coast or East Coast to West Coast, seem to struggle. You are Boston College fans. You could see it yourself with BC and Stanford. Cal has to do the same thing. Now, it's not the biggest change, but it's still a 3,000 mile flight that they have to get across. And they're playing at home. Away at BC's home, parents' weekend. It'll be it's sold out. The players, I hope are taking this seriously because this is almost as much win as it gets for Boston College. Like, if you lose this game for BC, your season becomes how much can they reclaim what they should have been able to do. You win this, and then you're seemingly getting yourself back on the right track. So this is a huge game for Boston College. And Cal, it seems like for them, the blood's in the water for BC. Like, go out there and strike. You've got a quarterback that looked rattled against SDSU, excuse me. You you have a team that scored 0 points against a G5 school. 0. I know a lot of folks that here listen, and you're all very self-hating BC fans, and everything you assume is just the worst. And listen, for the last 20 years, I get it. It's not easy. But this is a chance. This is a chance. And Bill O'Brien knows it. His staff knows it. The players know it. Cal, they are a team that, and JKS is a great get for them and really could have saved what could have been a catastrophic offseason. Their entire team basically entered the portal. I mean, Stanford did the same thing and they just beat you, but Cal's kind of the same thing. So hopefully you can fix the give the ball over in the red zone type of issues that you've been having. But Cal, Jade Knott, gone. Mendoza, the quarterback, gone. You lost almost your entire offense. It's all gone. You brought in Ron Rivera, so another NFL connection here. He's your general manager, who seems like he's kind of maybe the coach in waiting. I don't know. It just seems that way a little bit. But this is a game that if the Stanford game had trap game for BC all over it, this is a game that BC should win. It really should. And the odds makers, FanDuel has BC as -6.5. I know a lot of folks going, whoa, I'm putting all my money on Cal. I get that. I get it because you've watched enough. But the odds makers are saying BC should win this. So if BC can go out there and play their game, if they can eliminate those turnovers, tackle football, they're going to be in much better shape. So this is going to be an interesting one. This is going to be, you're playing a young quarterback. He's not, I think folks are going to be expecting him to be more mobile. He is athletic, but he's not a runner. We said that with Kevin Jennings and he did it last year. But I look at what, BC has on terms of offense. They got to score those points. If they can clean up those issues, a team like Cal should be a win. In our final segment, I want to look at these injuries that have happened, and they're piling up. And there's a new one I'll get into in just a moment that I didn't know about until Bill brought it up on his podcast. We'll talk about who's out, who is hurt, and what BC needs for in terms of who should be coming back. We'll get into all that in just a moment. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with can't-miss offers. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel because it fits how I like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the game action unfolds. On a Sunday, watching the NFL, it just makes games a little bit more fun. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy line. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. Hey, and even a little Saturdays, too. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When businesses thrive, the whole neighborhoods thrive. For a football game, sometimes I like to just get my own food. Shake Shack, I cannot beat it, and there's a great one in the area of Boston College that you can just get the burgers and, get a shake and some fries. It's nothing better to watch with the game. So Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. Thank you all for joining us. And if you want a second listen today, check out Locked On ACC with Kenton Gibbs and Alex Dono. Great show. Hopefully, I'll be back on again for a squad show soon. But if you haven't checked it out, they always have a lot to talk about. It's great. Now, injuries have been a big issue for Boston College this year, but it's football. That's what happens to every team. With the availability reports, I hope you haven't had a chance to look at other schools and say, hey, a lot of these other schools are having the same issue because that's just how football works. Now it's a war of attrition. That's what football is about. You're going to have guys that go down. It's the next guy up. That's why when you look at a two deep, sometimes you want to look deeper in some of these positional groups and say, okay, BC has guys that can step up and, oh, wait, there's a spot here that they don't. So my thought here is I want to talk about, Bill said on his Steve Burton, if you haven't checked it on CBS, he does a weekly TV, 10-minute spot with O'Brien. And Bill said some of the guys should be back this week. So I was wondering, of the guys that are out, who does BC need back most? Number one for me isn't even close. It's Jude Bowry. Jude Bowry is the best offensive lineman that BC has. He has not played great yet. I think he's been better in years past. But you need his athleticism, his size, everything that he brings. And the hope is that he's going to be back because I think of all the positional groups and all the players that you have out, he is the most guy that you cannot lose. Ryan McCow, I think, is a good tackle. He'll be your future. But I don't want to see Jude Bowry miss this season. I hope he's back. There was a picture, I think it was Dylan Lonergan's Instagram put out. They're all eating dinner. It looked like at the stockyard. And Jude's there, so hopefully he's okay. But he's my number one. My number two, Bam Crouch. Bam left the game against Stanford last week. And, when you lose him, you're down to Bryce Steele, who, great story, but he is, a guy trying to figure out and learn back what he knew about football before his health issue. Bam is very, very valuable. He hasn't been the most consistent player too, but you need him. You need Bam back bad because your depth at linebacker isn't great. Like you have Bryce Steele, but Jalen Blackwell's out. You have guys like Von Pemberton, who I don't know if he would be the answer for that. And then you got younger guys like Griffin Collins or Jason Hewlett, who was a transfer. Hewlett didn't play a lot last game, but I would see him probably taking a bigger role. So those are guys that would come in, but they're not Bam Crouch. You need Bam back. That's number two. My number three injury that needs to come back has to be one of the defensive backs. And I get the sense from the way Bill talked about it, I'm not feeling very confident that we're going to see either of them. So that's Zaire Torrance and Amari Jackson. Zaire Torrance, he had that broken heart symbol in the Instagram, and then all the football players was, we'll see you soon, and hopefully you'll, good luck on your recovery and all that stuff. It didn't seem great. I'm going to say that. And I don't know what happened to either him or Amari Jackson. Remember, since the Stanford game, we have not had media availability, so I can't speculate on what happened to any of these guys. But having one of them back would be huge. So that's it. And then I also wanted to bring up the name that I kind of teased at the beginning of this was that Logan Taylor is out. He was hurt. I had no clue about any of this because I think he played the whole game. But Bill brought it up again on his Steve Burton podcast, YouTube show. So I don't know what happened to him, but he also would be a big one because at guard, if he is out, then you're going to be going to, I don't know, do you move Dwayne Alec over there? Do you go with somebody on your bench like Amir Johnson? I don't know what you do there, but hopefully he'll be back too. He was also in that picture with Jude Bowry and Dylan Lonergan. So hopefully he's okay. I think, all these injuries, hopefully the guys that you need are going to get back. So we'll be back tomorrow. Tuesday is the first of media availability, so we won't have until our Wednesday show updates on the depth chart or talking to Bill, all that good stuff. We won't have that for those until those shows, but we'll have more to talk about tomorrow. I'm sure there's going to be stuff that's going on. Thank you all. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. You can check me out on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Blue Sky, Threads, all TikTok. I'm on all that stuff. Check me out there. and we'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.